This week on ICN, the stories you should have heard, but didn't. Washington State considers microchipping criminals. Is this the slippery slope? Was swine flu contrived in a lab? One scientist believes so. Massachusetts passes bill that could result in martial law. Medical professors continue to be in bed with Big Pharma. Those stories and more next on Informed Citizen News. Hello and welcome to ICN, Informed Citizen News, May 17, 2009. The prison population has often been the proving ground for medical experiments. Prisoners lose some of their rights at the time of their conviction. In general, people have less sympathy for convicted murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. History is filled with examples, even in the U.S., of ambitious doctors conducting experiments on helpless or unaware victims. Lawmakers in the state of Washington are considering a bill to start microchipping felons in order to track their movements. The science of microchip implantation is proven. The societal implications are quite significant. Today, RFID chips are implanted in pets, driver's license, cars, credit cards, and even in some of the products we buy. Some people have volunteered to be microchipped, either for tracking or for medical records. The world is digitizing whatever we put our hands on. By the way, a Saudi man had applied for a patent in Germany for an implanted microchip. This was no ordinary RFID chip. This chip would contain a poison, such as cyanide, which could be released by remote control to eliminate people if they became a security risk. The document said this could be used against terrorists or criminals. His patent was denied this week by the German government. Bloomberg reported this week that the swine flu, now at 10,000 confirmed cases, may have been the result of human error. Adrian Gibbs, the scientist who collaborated on research that led to the development of Tamiflu, will publish a report that claims this new strain may have accidentally evolved in eggs scientists use to grow viruses and drug makers use to make vaccines. Gibbs said he came to his conclusion as part of an effort to trace the virus's origin by analyzing its genetic blueprint. The CDC says there is no evidence that the swine flu came from a laboratory. The World Health Organization is investigating Gibbs' claim and should be able to release the results of its review in the next few weeks. The Associated Press reports that the Massachusetts Senate has unanimously passed a pandemic flu preparation bill that has languished in the legislature before the recent swine flu outbreak. This bill would allow the Public Health Commissioner to close or evacuate buildings, enter private property for investigations, and quarantine individuals. The bill also enables the government to control access to any public area and restrict the free assembly of the people. In effect, this bill calls for martial law at the discretion of the government. The chairman of the New York Federal Reserve, Stephen Friedman, resigned his position on May 7th. Mr. Friedman had remained on the Goldman Sachs Board of Directors after he was appointed chairman of the New York Fed in early 2008. He applied for and received a waiver for the dual role, but when Goldman Sachs became an operating bank last September, it fell under the jurisdiction of the New York Fed. Also, Mr. Friedman continued to buy shares of Goldman Sachs without notifying the New York Fed, and while serving in his dual role as bank advisor and regulator. Yet another example of Goldman's tentacles all over the regulators and Washington. On our April 13th broadcast, we reported that credit rating agencies S&P, Moody's, and Fitch received preferential treatment in the massive government bailout, even though they had overvalued all the toxic mortgage-backed securities that caused this crisis. Fed Chairman Bernanke indicated this week that he will review the process for awarding contracts to credit rating agencies and possibly change the requirements to allow competition from smaller rivals. With bailout programs designed to reward incompetence, why let a little controversy change your approach now? Pressure is building on Harvard Medical School to better regulate the massive gifts and consulting fees that faculty members regularly receive from drug companies, with increasing attention being drawn to the great potential for conflict of interest in such relationships. For example, renowned child psychiatrist Dr. Joseph Biederman has been criticized for accepting more than $1 million from drug companies without reporting all these funds to his employer, Harvard University. Because he was influential in promoting the use of powerful antipsychotic medicines to children, his ties to the makers of these medications have stirred controversy both at Harvard and in Washington. A student movement has recently taken form at Harvard Medical School, demanding widespread reform of the school's conflict of interest policies. This was followed by the American Medical Student Association giving the school an F grade for its conflict of interest disclosure policies. Harvard is not alone in blurring the line between education and marketing. Compensation and gifts are all too frequent for medical professors. The chief executives of the 9 largest U.S. banks had no choice but to accept capital infusions from the Treasury Department in October, government documents have confirmed. Obtained and released by Judicial Watch, a nonpartisan educational foundation, the documents revealed talking points used by former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson during the October 13th meeting between federal officials and the executives that stressed the investments would be required in any circumstance, whether the banks found them appealing or not. Although there were rumors of government forcing banks to participate in bailouts, the documents are the first proof of the government's ultimatum. I don't remember reading those federal powers in the Constitution. Shouldn't someone be in jail by now? On a final note, if you haven't seen it yet, then check out the Federal Reserve Inspector General being questioned by a congressman. This person provides the internal review and oversight for the Fed. We provided a link to her YouTube testimony before Congress. It will make you laugh and cry at the same time. Thank you for joining ICN this week. Americans need to be informed, so please send our link to your friends and family. From all of us at Informed Citizen News, have a good week.